She stood in the middle of my baby shower, lifted her champagne glass, and destroyed my life with one sentence. The room went silent. 40 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I was 7 months pregnant, barefoot, smiling just seconds earlier. And then Vanessa laughed. "Oh, sweetheart," she said loudly, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Are we all just pretending we don't know that Daniel isn't even the father?" The air cracked. My mother dropped her fork. My mother-in-law gasped. Daniel's face drained of color, and I felt something shift inside me, not the baby, something colder. I didn't cry. That's what surprised everyone later, because I didn't break. I simply looked at her, and I smiled. 3 months earlier, Vanessa had hugged me in this same house. She was my cousin. My childhood shadow. The one who borrowed my clothes, copied my hairstyles, and somehow always made my achievements feel smaller. When Daniel proposed to me, she clapped the loudest. When we announced the pregnancy, she cried. When we planned the baby shower, she insisted on organizing it. I wanted to be perfect, she'd said, squeezing my hands. "You deserve everything." And I believed her. I always believed her. Back to that moment, Daniel stepped forward. "Vanessa, what the hell are you talking about?" She shrugged casually. "I mean, you travel so much, and Maya works late. I just thought we were being honest today." Honest. She weaponized that word like a blade. My aunt whispered, "Is it true?" I could feel judgment crawling across the room like ants. Daniel looked at me, not angry, not yet, but unsure. That hurt more than anything. I placed a hand on my stomach and said softly, "Vanessa, are you sure you want to do this right now?" She smirked. "Truth doesn't wait for convenience." "Oh, Vanessa?" You should have chosen silence. The party ended in chaos, guests left in awkward clusters. My mother cried in the kitchen. Daniel didn't yell, he just kept asking questions. Why would she say that? Is there something I don't know? The worst part wasn't the accusation. It was doubt, that tiny crack in trust. I told him calmly, "Do the test if you want." He looked ashamed. "Maya, do it." Because I already knew the truth, and I knew something else. Vanessa wasn't guessing, she was projecting. You see, 6 months before my pregnancy, Vanessa had come to me in tears. "I think I made a mistake," she'd whispered. "I slept with someone from work, Marcus. He's married." I remember staring at her. "You always do this?" I told her. "Do what?" "Chase what isn't yours." She laughed it off, but what she didn't know is that Marcus' wife was my colleague, and that I had seen messages, and that I had taken screenshots. I don't snoop, but I remember everything. A week after the baby shower humiliation, Daniel and I got the results. He was the father. Of course he was. He apologized over and over. He held my face and cried. "I'm so sorry I even doubted you." I kissed his forehead. "It's okay?" But something inside me had hardened. Vanessa didn't just try to embarrass me. She tried to destroy my marriage, while carrying her own secret like a ticking bomb. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Revenge isn't loud, it's patient. I invited her to lunch instead. She arrived in oversized sunglasses, dramatic as ever. "You look calm," she said carefully. "I am," I replied. We ordered food. She leaned in. "Look, I didn't mean to cause drama. I just thought Daniel deserved transparency." Transparency. Again that word. I stirred my drink slowly. "You're right," I said. "Everyone deserves transparency." She relaxed. That was her first mistake. Over the next few weeks, I started making small moves. I met Marcus's wife, Elena, for coffee. "I need to show you something," I told her. When I handed her the screenshots, her hands trembled. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I wouldn't bring this to you if I wasn't." She cried, but she thanked me, and that's when I knew. The dominoes had started falling. Meanwhile, Vanessa grew bolder. At family dinner, she made subtle comments. "Trust is fragile. Some women are just good at hiding things." She wanted me to explode, to look guilty, to react, but I smiled every time, because I knew something she didn't. Marcus had stopped answering her calls. Elena had hired a lawyer, and someone had anonymously forwarded certain HR policy documents to Marcus's company. Vanessa started looking tired, anxious. Her phone buzzed constantly. One evening, she cornered me in my own kitchen. "Did you talk to Marcus?" she demanded. I tilted my head. "Why would I? He's acting strange." "Maybe he's just being honest." Her eyes narrowed. For the first time, she looked afraid. The real shift happened at my grandmother's birthday dinner. The whole family was there, including Vanessa, including Daniel, including Elena. Yes, Elena, because I had invited her. Vanessa froze when she saw her. The color drained from her face, the same way mine had at the baby shower. Elena walked in gracefully, composed. "Vanessa," she said calmly, "we need to talk." The table went silent. Again, I sipped my water. Vanessa forced a laugh. "I think you're mistaken." Elena placed printed screenshots on the table, the same way Vanessa had placed doubt on mine. "I don't think I am." Whispers erupted. My aunt looked confused. My uncle looked furious. Daniel glanced at me slowly, and this time, there was no doubt in his eyes, only realization. Vanessa stood abruptly. "This is insane." I finally spoke, softly. "Truth doesn't wait for convenience, remember." Her head snapped toward me. "You..." But she couldn't finish, because the weight of exposure had already crushed her. Marcus had been suspended from work. Elena was filing for divorce. And suddenly, the girl who tried to ruin my life was fighting to hold hers together. Later that night, Vanessa showed up at my door, crying. "You set me up," she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment. "No," I said calmly. "You did that yourself. You could have told me." "I could have. The same way you could have talked to me privately at the shower." She had no answer, just tears. But I wasn't done, because humiliation wasn't enough. Understanding wasn't enough. She tried to brand me a liar in front of everyone I loved, and I wasn't going to let the story end as mutual destruction. There was one final truth she didn't know. One final piece she hadn't seen coming. And tomorrow, in front of the entire family again, I was going to reveal it. The next evening, the house was full again. Not for a celebration, not for a holiday, for a family discussion. That's what my mother called it in the group chat, but everyone knew what it really was. A reckoning. Vanessa arrived last. No dramatic entrance this time, no high heels, no designer smile, just pale skin, swollen eyes, and a silence that followed her like smoke. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. "You sure?" he whispered. I nodded. I had never been more sure of anything in my life. My grandmother cleared her throat. "This family doesn't tear itself apart without understanding why." Vanessa let out a brittle laugh. "So what now? We vote me off the island." No one smiled. Elena was there again, calm, composed, terrifying in her stillness. Marcus wasn't. He was already dealing with consequences he never saw coming. I stood slowly, 7 months pregnant, heavy, tired, but unbreakable. "I want to tell a story," I said quietly. Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Oh, please." I ignored her. 3 months ago, at my baby shower, Vanessa accused me of cheating. In front of my husband, in front of my family. While I was carrying my child, silence settled over the room like dust. I asked myself why. I looked directly at her. Because people don't destroy others for no reason. They destroy to distract. Her jaw tightened. I continued. "When Vanessa came to me crying about Marcus, I didn't judge her. I didn't expose her. I kept her secret." My aunt gasped softly. "She hadn't known? I kept it?" I repeated, "Because I thought loyalty mattered." Vanessa's voice shook. "You're acting like you're some saint." "No," I said calmly. "I'm acting like someone who was patient." Daniel's grip on my hand tightened, not in doubt, in support. I walked toward the coffee table and placed a small folder on it. Inside were printed screenshots, but not the same ones Elena had already seen. These were older, more detailed. Messages time-stamped months before my pregnancy. Messages where Vanessa had talked about something else entirely. She lunged forward. "Dawn." I met her eyes. And for the first time in our entire lives, she looked smaller than me. "You said Daniel deserved transparency?" I said softly. "So let's be transparent." I opened the folder and slid out the pages. Gasps rippled around the room. There, in black and white, were Vanessa's messages to Marcus. Not just about the affair, about me. "She doesn't deserve him. He always looked at me first. If she wasn't pregnant, I swear I'd find a way." My mother covered her mouth. Daniel's face hardened. Vanessa shook her head violently. "That was venting. It meant nothing." I looked at her gently. "It meant everything." The room felt smaller, heavier. "You didn't accuse me because you believed I cheated." I continued. "You accused me because you wanted him to doubt me. You wanted space. A crack. An opening." Daniel stood slowly. He didn't shout. He didn't rage. He simply said, "You tried to manipulate me." Vanessa's lips trembled. I was hurt. "You were jealous?" I corrected. And there it was. The word she had avoided her entire life. Jealous. Of my grades in school. Of my promotions. Of my engagement. Of my pregnancy. I stepped closer to her. "You've been competing with me since we were 12, I said quietly. "And I never entered the competition." Tears streamed down her face now, but I didn't feel triumph. I felt clarity. "I would have forgiven your affair," I said. "That was your mistake to carry. But you tried to brand me with your guilt." Elena spoke then, her voice steady. "You didn't just betray him. You enjoyed trying to ruin her." Vanessa turned in circles, looking for someone, anyone, to defend her. No one moved, because truth doesn't shout, it stands. Finally, she looked at me again. "What do you want?" she whispered. That question, that desperate, broken question. Months ago, I might have answered differently. But now, "I don't want anything," I said. "I already have everything." I rested my hand on my stomach. "My husband trusts me." Daniel nodded without hesitation. "My child will grow up in a home built on honesty." I paused. "And you will grow up too, but somewhere else." My uncle stood, face flushed with disappointment. "Vanessa, you will apologize. And after that, you will give this family space." Her shoulders collapsed. The arrogance was gone. The spotlight she once loved now burned. She looked at me one last time. "I never thought you'd fight back," she said weakly. I smiled, not cruelly, just truthfully. "I didn't fight," I replied. "I revealed." She left that night without another word. The door closed softly behind her. And with it, years of silent rivalry ended. Later, when everyone was gone, Daniel wrapped his arms around me from behind. I didn't see it, he admitted quietly. The jealousy, the manipulation. "She hid it well," I said. "So did you?" I turned slightly. "What do you mean?" "You were never as fragile as she thought." I smiled. I was never fragile at all. Outside, the night was still. Inside, the house felt lighter. Vanessa would have to rebuild her life from the ashes of her own choices. Elena would rebuild her stronger. And I didn't need revenge anymore. Because exposure is sharper than any weapon. And the most powerful thing I ever did was stay calm long enough to let the truth destroy her for me. A week passed, then two. Silence settled over the family like an uneasy truce. No one mentioned Vanessa in the group chat anymore. Her name became something fragile, something sharp, but absence helps feel it. I was folding tiny baby clothes one afternoon when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it for a long moment before answering. Hello, silence. Then breathing. Soft, shaky, it's me. Of course it was Vanessa, I changed my number, she said quickly. No one would answer my calls. I leaned back slowly in the nursery chair. What do you want? A long pause. I lost everything. There was no drama in her voice now. No performance. Just exhaustion. Marcus won't speak to me. Elena's lawyer contacted me. My parents barely look at me. And the family. Her voice cracked. You didn't just expose me, erased me? I closed my eyes briefly. I didn't erase you, I said calmly. Your actions did. You knew this would happen. Yes. At least I was honest. Her breathing grew heavier. Do you hate me? I thought about that. About childhood birthdays, shared secrets, summer nights whispering about the future. No, I said finally, I just don't trust you. Silence again. That's worse, she whispered. Then the line went dead. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I felt guilty, but because something unsettled me. Vanessa had always thrived on attention, good or bad, but this version of her sounded hollow, dangerously hollow. Daniel noticed my restlessness. You okay? He asked softly. She called. His body stiffened. What did she want? I think she wanted someone to blame. And I didn't give her that. He kissed my forehead. You did what you had to. I nodded. But something told me this wasn't finished. Not because I needed revenge, but because she wasn't done unraveling. 3 days later, the news reached us. Marcus had resigned, not quietly. Apparently, HR had discovered more than just the affair. Financial irregularities, misuse of company resources, things Vanessa had no idea about. Elena sent me a simple text. He's not the man I thought he was. Thank you for showing me the truth. I stared at that message for a long time. Truth has a ripple effect. When you pull one thread, the entire fabric shifts. Then came the unexpected twist. My aunt called one evening, voice tense. You need to know something? My stomach tightened instinctively. What happened? Vanessa went to Daniel's office. The room felt suddenly colder. She what? She tried to speak to him privately. Said she had proof that you manipulated everything. My heart didn't race. It steadied. Of course she would try one last time. What did Daniel say? I asked carefully. She wasn't allowed past reception. I let out a slow breath. She left something though. My aunt added, a sealed envelope. Daniel came home later than usual that night. He placed the envelope on the kitchen counter between us. We both stared at it. You want to open it? He asked. No, I said immediately. He looked surprised. Why not? Because whatever's inside is designed to create doubt. He studied my face. You're not curious? Curiosity is what she feeds on. He didn't open it. Instead, he tore it in half, then again, and dropped it into the trash. I choose you, he said quietly. And just like that, her last weapon dissolved. But Vanessa wasn't finished. 2 days later, a rumor began circulating among extended relatives that I had planned everything, that I had intentionally waited to expose her, that I had calculated the perfect moment, which was true. But the tone twisted it into something cruel, manipulative, cold. I didn't respond, because there's a difference between defending your name and chasing every whisper. However, when my grandmother called me over for tea, I knew the final conversation was coming. She poured slowly, carefully. You were strategic? She said gently.
Wes, you waited?
Yes, she looked at me over the rim of her cup. Why? The question wasn't accusing. It was searching. I met her gaze. Because pain makes people reckless, I said softly. And I didn't want to be reckless. She nodded slowly. You wanted her to understand? No, I corrected. I wanted her to face consequences. Understanding is a gift. Consequences are reality. My grandmother smiled faintly. You're stronger than I realized. I smiled back. No, I just stopped being quiet. Months passed. My due date approached. The family dynamic adjusted into a new shape, slightly fractured but honest. Vanessa moved to another city. No dramatic farewell. No apologies tour. Just disappearance. Some relatives tried to reframe the story. Everyone makes misfits family. And I agreed, but forgiveness doesn't mean access, and blood doesn't excuse betrayal. One evening, as I packed my hospital bag, Daniel sat beside me. Do you ever think about her? He asked. Wes, do you regret anything? I zipped the bag slowly. I regret that she chose envy over love. He nodded. And the way you handled it. I paused, thought about the baby shower, the humiliation, the careful months of silence, the exposure, the calm. No, I said finally. I regret nothing. Because revenge isn't screaming. It isn't chaos, it's control. It's choosing timing over emotion. It's allowing someone to collapse under the weight of their own lies while you stand still. The night I went into labor, something strange happened. As Daniel drove me to the hospital, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number? I almost ignored it. But something told me to answer. Hello. Soft wind in the background. Traffic noises. Then her voice. I heard you're due any day. I closed my eyes. Yes? A pause. I won't call again after this. I didn't speak. I was jealous, she said quietly. Not just of Daniel, of you. Your peace, your confidence. The way you never seemed desperate. Desperate? That word again. I don't hate you, she continued. I hated how I felt around you. For the first time, she sounded honest. Truly honest? I hope your baby grows up nothing like me, she whispered. And before I could respond, the line went dead. Daniel glanced at me. Everything okay? I looked down at my stomach as another contraction tightened. Yes, I said softly, everything was finally okay, because the war was never about her destroying me. It was about me refusing to become her, and that was the real victory. The hospital room was quiet except for the rhythmic beeping of monitors and the soft rise and fall of my breathing. Pain came in waves, sharp, demanding, real. But it was honest pain, not like betrayal, not like humiliation, not like doubt. Daniel held my hand the entire time. No hesitation, no uncertainty, just steady presence. You're doing amazing, he whispered as another contraction hit. I gripped his hand tighter. I know, and I did. Hours later, when our daughter's cry finally filled the room, something inside me unlocked. Not relief, not triumph, closure. They placed her on my chest, tiny, warm, perfect. Daniel's tears fell freely. She's beautiful. I looked down at her and smiled. She's ours. No doubt, no cracks, no shadows, just truth. The days after bringing her home were soft and slow. Midnight feedings, sunlight through nursery curtains, tiny fingers wrapping around mine with instinctive trust. I realized something important during those quiet nights. Vanessa had spent her life trying to take what wasn't hers. But holding my daughter, I understood something deeper. What is meant for you does not need to be stolen. It stays. Because it belongs. 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. Not anonymous, not dramatic, just a simple envelope with Vanessa's handwriting. Daniel looked at me carefully. You want me to open it? No, I said calmly. I will. I waited until I was alone in the nursery, my daughter asleep beside me. Then I unfolded the letter. It wasn't long, no excuses. No manipulation, just words written without performance. I was angry at you for being everything I wasn't brave enough to become. I wanted your life because I didn't build one I was proud of. When I accused you at the baby shower, I thought I would feel powerful. Instead, I felt small. You didn't destroy me. You held up a mirror. I don't expect forgiveness, but I am sorry. I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully, not because I was moved, but because I was finished. Daniel found me later, rocking the baby gently. What did it say? He asked. She apologized. He studied my face. And I believe her. And it doesn't change anything. He nodded. That was the difference now. Before, I would have searched for reconciliation. Now, I understood boundaries. Forgiveness is internal. Access is earned. Months passed. Our daughter grew stronger, so did our marriage. The scandal faded into family history, not erased, but understood. Occasionally, someone would mention Vanessa. She's working in another city. She's keeping to herself. She's different now. Maybe she was. Pain changes people. Exposure changes people. But transformation, that's a choice. One afternoon, nearly a year later, I saw her again. By accident, I was leaving a bookstore with my daughter in a stroller when I noticed someone across the street watching us. Vanessa, she looked thinner, quieter, simpler. No designer bag, no sharp edges, just stillness. For a moment, we just stared at each other. No hatred, no rivalry, just history. She crossed the street slowly, stopped a few feet away. Hi, she said softly, hi. Her eyes dropped to the stroller. She's beautiful. Thank you. A pause stretched between us. I'm not here to disrupt anything, she said quickly. I moved back last week. I didn't know if I should say hello. You just did. I replied calmly. She nodded. I've been in therapy, she added quietly, trying to understand why I needed to compete with you. I didn't respond immediately, because this wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't about competing, I said gently. It was about insecurity. She swallowed hard. Yes, wind moved softly between us. I don't expect to be part of your life, she said. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. I looked down at my daughter, who was staring up at the sky without fear, then back at Vanessa. Being better doesn't require my permission, I said. Her eyes filled slightly, but she didn't cry. That was new. Take care of yourself, I added, and then I walked away, not in anger, not in superiority. In peace. That night, Daniel asked about my day. I saw her, I said. He tensed slightly. And she's not the same. Do you trust that? I thought carefully. I trust that she's facing herself. And you. I looked around our living room, toys scattered, soft laughter from the nursery monitor, warmth filling every corner. I'm not facing anything anymore, I said softly. I already did, years later. When my daughter was old enough to ask about family stories, she once pointed to an old photo. Who's that? Vanessa and I, teenagers, smiling, arms around each other. I looked at the picture for a long moment. That, I said gently, is someone who taught me something important. What did she teach you? I smiled. That you can't control what people feel about you, but you can control how you respond. My daughter nodded seriously as if storing the lesson away. And that's when I understood the true ending. It was never about revenge. Not really. It was about restraint, about choosing dignity when humiliation would have been easier, about patience when rage would have been louder. Vanessa tried to destroy my marriage. She tried to rewrite my story. But in the end, the only story that mattered was the one I continued living. Happy, stable, unshaken. Because the most powerful revenge isn't ruin. It's success without bitterness. It's peace without apology. It's watching someone who tried to break you realize they only revealed their own fractures. And as I tucked my daughter into bed that night, I kissed her forehead and whispered something I wish someone had told Vanessa long ago. You don't need to take someone else's light to shine. And with that, the story truly ended.